Good morning, everyone. I am a morning person, so I'm excited to be going first. I also want to mention that I live in San Francisco, and when I said I was presenting at a product conference on a Saturday, everyone looked at me kind of strangely, saying, why is it on a Saturday? And so I think it's time for New York to up the importance of product and have the product conferences on a weekday, and I think that might be happening next year. So there you go. So I changed the title of this a little bit as I was preparing the slides, and Walker from Product Labs actually helped prepare the slides, so I just want to call him out. I don't actually like to create slides, but we're going to talk about that. So I changed the title just a little bit to be Developing Your Strategic C-Suite Muscle. Can't even say it. The reason I changed it is because one of the things that I realize is that when product people are trying to create their strategic plan, they go from the bottom up. The reality is C-suites are top down. And so one of the things I want you to walk away with today is your plan for your career for next year and the year after. I want you to look at yourself as a product. I want you to create a very big roadmap, a strategic direction for you as a product in your career. This first talk is going to be way past where you probably are today on purpose. I'm going to be talking about boards, I'm going to be talking about CEOs, and I'm going to be talking about the gap that most product people have. And I'll tell you how I know that, and I'll explain my position to give you the context of how I know that. And I want you to, from this talk, create your own strategic roadmap for your career and start closing the gap from the top down, not the bottom up. And there's a reason that you need to be doing that now. So, a little bit of an introduction for those that don't know me. I am an operating partner at Insight Partners. It used to be called Insight Venture Partners, and now it's Insight Partners. It is an investment firm based here in New York, and we have about 170 companies that we manage. They're all SaaS companies, or all software companies, not all SaaS, but they're all software companies. 170 companies, and I became an operating partner with them in 2016. Operating partners have different roles at different firms. My role at Insight has three phases, or three areas. I spend about a third of my time doing due diligence on new investments around the product and the technology in terms of the valuation and the investment thesis, and can that actually get there? The second part is spending time with our portfolio companies, helping them get through growing pains, specifically around scaling. I'm an expert in scaling. And then the third thing that I do is I was brought on to help build out the center of excellence in product for the investment firm to help our portfolio companies in that particular area. So that's what I've been doing the last 3.5 years, and this is how I'm able to bring you this talk today, because I've seen some patterns and I want to share them with you. I want to call out some of the Insight Partners portfolio companies that are actually based in New York. They're up on the screens. Many of the CPOs or leaders are in the audience today. There is a booth downstairs for Insight Partners. Insight Partners is actually not hiring product people, but our portfolio companies are. And I think it's important, as I talk to you about some of the things that Insight has invested in to help our portfolio companies, I encourage you to reach out to the product people who work at some of these companies so that you can get access to some of the wonderful things that we've been doing with our companies and in the product area. Insight advocates for product leadership at the C-suite. If you're going to take a role with a private company, understand the investor's modus operandum. Every investment firm has different philosophies, invests at different stages, cares about different things. Before you take a role at a private company, understand who the investors are and make your decisions based on that. I'm not going to go too much into that detail, but I do want you to walk away that Insight advocates for product leadership at the C-suite. And what does that mean? We advise our CEOs and our boards when in fact some of the issues that they're having is because they do not have the right product leadership at the table at the right time. So we advise at that level because we can tell the symptoms. It's time to upgrade the talent. We help them recruit with a scorecard. Product is not generic. Product is so specific to stage, to relevancy, to experience, to industry, to your style. A CPO is not a CPO is not a CPO. Someone says to me, are they a good CPO? Well, they are for this, but not for this, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We coach. Insight has a philosophy of we enable management teams, and if there is a founder that is in that organization or someone who's brought that company to the stage that it's at, and we are able to coach them to the next level, we commit to doing that. Sometimes we can't because the gap is too large for the time frame that they need to grow, but we commit to coaching. And last but not least, just like you are all here today for your community and network, we believe the best way for everyone to up their game is to connect with others that are doing things that they're doing, and we help connect our portfolio companies and our product leaders with relevant people that they can actually talk to that are experiencing the same problems. One of my roles in starting the Product Center of Excellence is that over the last 3 years, I have advised about 50 boards on what, maybe less, maybe more, somewhere around there, about 50 boards. They're Insight portfolio companies. Sometimes they get called by others, about what kind of product leadership that they actually need. And I help them create scorecards. We've actually brought product labs in, and I will talk a little bit about that, and they're now helping with that. And help create scorecards that are very specific to the needs that they have so that we can find the right individual. So, and Insight, I want to talk about one more thing. Insight is a scale-up investor. Scale-up, which is not startup, and not scaler or big company. Scale-up is a very unique stage in a company. It is, if you're doing it right, it's only about 3 years. If you do the math, you can figure out why. It has to do with growth rates. And there's not a lot of people who understand or have experience with scale-up. When they start getting in there, there's lots of things that you can look at to indicate that they can be good at scale-up. But scale-up is a very unique phase in the life cycle of a company. This is one of those money slides that Brent was talking about. There is a huge opportunity right now. This conference has a 20% greater attendance or keys. There's so many more product organizations. Universities are offering product courses and curriculum. Big firms are offering product consulting. This has all been happening in the last 2 or 3 years. The rise of product, or the understanding of the influence that product has, is at its peak. It is such an opportunity. It is so great, and I'm so glad that you guys are here today. But let me tell you why you need to develop your strategic muscle. You guys are at a conference on a Saturday. You are ambitious, right? Because it's a Saturday. You are all, right? So you guys are mid-career, you are ambitious, you are practitioners, you know how to execute, and if you don't step up your game, you are going to stay there and you will not make it up to the C-suite because there is a very specific thing that is happening right now, which I'm going to tell you about. So just as product rose very fast, it has at the C-suite, and I've heard for years, product needs to be at the C-suite, we need to be at the table, right? Well, it's going to fall just as fast if you don't up your game. Product is about to lose their seat at that strategic table. Why? The demand for CPOs is outpacing the supply. We can see it. We can see it. I can see it. It used to take me 3 months. I'd narrow that scorecard down. We hire the best recruiters, and I could find the CPO that was right for that company. It's elongating now. And I see people settling for that CPO. What that means is they don't have the right muscle. They're going to be at that C-suite table, and they're going to start slipping out of that table because the right person is not at that table, and that person represents the entire product profession at that table. It's not that you're good, you're really good. If that person is at the table, that's all they know about product. That's what they're going to think about it. So, one of the big things that is really driving me crazy, so I thought I'd share this with you. There's a title that just drives me crazy. Product growth. At what point did product not mean growth, that they had to put an acronym at the front of it? Like, what is that? Product is growth, right? So like having that title, adding that thing on there, that drives me crazy, crazy. So who is going to replace the CPO at the strategic table? A COO or a chief growth officer. It's happening now. Understand that, up your muscle, keep yourselves and your profession at the table. What are the major gaps in the CPO candidates that we see today? Strategy, finance, go-to-market, and executive presence. I was presenting in Amsterdam, and one of the persons said to me, it was the first time I presented something like this, and they said, well, Shelley, what's left? Right, what's left? And I said, execution. Execution. Product people talk about agile, and they talk about tools, and they talk about all these different things. And we know tools, Brent just said it, don't actually have an impact in the business organization. So strategy, finance, go-to-market, executive presence. There are people in the audience that go, I have that. 90% chance it means you don't actually have the execution piece of it. The execution piece is harder. You guys all have the execution piece. Go get this faster because there's people coming above you that have this, and you're going to stay down here if you don't get this. I'll give you an example on this one. Brent told me to give more examples. Someone said to me, help me, Shelley. I want to get a job. What kind of job do you want to get? He was a VP of product or something. He's like, I want to go work for I want to be the top level reporting to a founder that's ready to give a product. So first thing I do, go to his LinkedIn. All over his LinkedIn. I forgot what it was, but it was product this, all these product words, Horizon 3, product, blah, 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 blah. I can't even remember. I wish I would have taken a picture of it. And I said to him, I go, this is your LinkedIn? And he said, yes. And I said, the CEOs don't understand any of this. It's a founder CEO. They grew up. They don't care about product terms. And he goes, but I want that person, usually he, but I want that person to know that I know these things. Who cares? That's not your buyer. The buyer is the CEO. The buyer doesn't know product speak. They don't care. They want to, how are you going to make me sleep at night? How am I going to grow next year? How am I going to meet my number? That's what they want to know. You've got to learn a different set of language as you move up the chain. It's not about product words. You need that for your team, and you need that for execution. You need to learn a new language. I went to my first board. We all have to learn. I started my first board 3 years ago. My first board, I was atrocious. Why? Because I'm an operator. I'm an operator, type A, get it done person. Guess what? In a board, you advise. And I realized they were listening to me and like coming back and showing me what they were doing because, she told me to do it. No, I didn't tell you to do it. I was throwing something out. And I realized that I had to change my tone. I had to change the words I was using. I had to change my style. Atrocious. All of you have to do this. This isn't about being the best product person. This is about being the best executive. And somewhere along the line, I don't know where all of you went to school or what your schooling is, but there was no product curriculum when you went to school, I'm sure. So you didn't learn a lot of these things. I am my undergraduate is from the State University of New York at Binghamton. So I am a SUNY girl, right? A SUNY girl in an Ivy League investment firm. But there you go. So you can ascend that. So my undergraduate is in accounting. And I'm old, so it was 1987, my freshman year of college. The stock market crashed. My professor died, my economics professor died when that thing crashed. So during that stage, as an accountant, I have an accounting major, my BS is in accounting, I was taught how to dress. I was taught how to talk to senior people. I was taught how to come into a room, how you dress, whatever it is that you do matters. I was taught the language of finance because I was an accounting major. I was taught all of those valuable things that I didn't understand were so valuable. And so many of you, if you've come from different areas, no one's ever taught you these things. You need to go learn some of these things. Your brethren, your CMOs, your CROs, your CEOs, they learn this. Because there's so many other ones of them, they copy their styles. The CPOs rose so fast, you have no stylistic person or no one else to do that for, so you need to go seek them out. And all of the initial CPOs, I was one of those, we don't talk about it anymore because we have PSDTT. We had to learn how to do it. We work so fast, we're done. We're on to the next thing, so we don't talk about it. I have a unique role at Insight that I'm able to observe some of these things, but very few people who have my experience before and now can actually draw this correlation. So I hope you really take this with you, a frame about how to think about strategy and what it means for your career. But C-suite roles are balanced executives. My best example is, this is one of the money slides. I promise the other ones are fast, Tammy. My best example, I always say to, as I'm coaching CPOs, a CFO does not walk into the room and go, oh my gosh, I did a journal entry, and then I rolled it up, and then I closed the books, and here's the numbers. No, they go, all right, we got to close the gap. That's what they do. Product people walk in and go, I got a roadmap, I got these teams, I got an agile team, I do this, right? Right, well, yeah, right? No. So you got to learn a new language. I can't tell you what that language is today. All I want you to take away from this is that you need to learn a new language as you move up the ladder, and you're not going to learn it from product people. You need to learn it from your C-suite brethrens, because those are your new peers. Now, I'm going to talk about a chief product officer's role, because you need to be backing into this. As you're managing your career and you're thinking about impact, begin with the end in mind. When you do a roadmap, you begin with the strategic direction of where you want to go, and you start chunking it down. So, a chief product officer is a customer advocate and champion. So if you're a product person and you never talk to a customer, fail, okay, fail. I see this all the time, drives me crazy. Then, a maniacal focus on financial outcomes. If you're a product person and you are a customer advocate to no end, you have forgotten the other stakeholders, your investors, your boss. What makes your boss successful? The customers, right? Your teammates, the market, right? You have a whole big set of stakeholders. The customer is one of them, but not the only one. Your job is to find the balance and make all of them as happy as you can. Not everyone happy as you can. That's the intersection of that. But you have to have a maniacal focus on the outcomes and the financials. There are so many times where someone walks up to me. I'm sure it would happen at this conference, and it won't now, except for the people that come late. Hey, Shelley, I'm this. What should I do? Okay, give me, I think in numbers, because I have an undergraduate in finance, but I think in numbers. So the first thing before someone says anything to me is I say, what's your role? What's your company? And if I don't know the company, I said, what's the revenue of your company? Because the revenue of a company can help me stage it so that I can actually put in context to what they're saying. 90% of the time, the person cannot answer the question. If you are in product and you do not know the top line revenue of your company and the percentage of their product line that you work in and how much of what you're working on and when it monetizes, fail. Go know that. Okay? You are the ultimate influencer. You need to be an effective communicator, an evangelist, a builder of confidence, the lightning rounds people presenting up here. Get your muscle. Do some of these things. It will advance your career. I was at Industry a few weeks ago. Somebody came up to me and said, Shelley, I don't live in San Francisco. How do I get my voice out there? There's this great thing. It's called the internet. You can, you can record yourself. I don't like to write, but I like to record. And you know what he said to me? Oh, but then people would see my face. Right? You choose to be in product. You choose to be a leader. You need to choose to be an evangelist. You need to be a personality. If you work for a company that does not have a brand name, they're buying you. They're hiring you for your past experience. And they're expecting you, as a chief product officer, to not only do your job every day, but to convince customers to buy it on your brand name alone, your brand name. Because there's not a brand name behind you. It's not Google, it's not Envision, it's not Facebook, it's not Hewlett-Packard. It's some name that you don't know, and you. Build your brand because they're hiring you for that as well. And learn how to influence. beyond the people that are working for you today, beyond your exact customers. Influence something larger than that. You have to understand how to interact at the board level. 99% of you don't. Even the chief product officers that we hire at Insight don't know how to do that. Part of what I do with Product Labs is to help train our people how to do that. The roadmap that you give to your customers and the roadmap that you use internal is not relevant to a board. It is not the same roadmap. The contributor, you need to understand M&A. You need to know why it is. So many times product people go, you should buy this, it's really cool tech. Great, it's really cool tech. Is it bringing customers? Where are you as a thing? Like, there's so many other factors beyond the fact that it's really cool tech or complements it. What's the cap table? Is it complex? You're never going to acquire those. It's too complex. You need to understand other factors. You need to also understand the detail of product, but these are the things that separate a chief product officer from everyone else. Last but not least, recruiter, organizer, and developer of strong employees. You need to recruit. You need to bring talent with you. People need to want to work for your company because you're there. Not just product people, not just engineers, salespeople. I know Shelley's going to support sales. I know that she's not going to be able to deliver everything that I want, but she's going to help me understand why not, and she's going to convince the customers that they don't need it either, right? There's so much more to that C-suite muscle. Very quickly, it is super hard to develop this muscle, and you have to find different ways to do it. Scale up is a particularly interesting stage of a company, short and hard. So one of the things, and I'm only telling you this so you kind of understand, if you hear Insight Partners, if you hear Product Labs, how we as Insight are solving that today, because it is a very big challenge, and we have 170 companies, and we like to grow. We're very competitive, and we like to grow, and we like to get there faster. So one of the things that we did is we took myself. I'm an experienced C-level operator. I have board experience. I have financial experience. I have B2B and B2C, which is really important differentiation because of the data elements, and I have scale up and small. What I don't like to do is codify that. I just like to get it done. I don't like to do PowerPoints. No. I don't like to codify it. I like to do one-on-one things. I don't do virtual classes. I don't do all of those things. I help people individually, but I have a lot to offer. I have a lot of experience. So we partnered with Product Labs, who actually does that really well, but didn't have a lot of scale-up experience and didn't have a lot of the other things. So we partnered together so that we could codify some of those things, help our companies. But guess what? The people who know the stuff to learn or where the gaps are to make and prioritize what we codify are the people doing it every day. So we developed a CPO advisory board of those CPOs that are going through it. So one, we could help them. We could help accelerate them faster so that they could help us more too as well. So it's a virtual circle. All right, so some of the CPOs are actually here today. I see that Gijo's in the front there. I don't know who else is here. But we joined together, and it is the force of the three of these things, plus the boards, plus everything else, that are helping to bring up this profession in our portfolio. So I only put this up here so that you understand that it takes a village. And there's not this conference or your company or anything else that's going to solve it. You have to create your own path, and you've got to go to different areas and fill it in. No one can do that for you. No one. Because you all have different experiences, and you all have different gaps and different education. You've got to fill it out for yourself. So I'm just going to give you 2 examples very quickly as I'm running out of time. But there's many things in that you need to learn. But a portfolio strategy or a product strategy must include financials. I get so many decks that are like, here's my product strategy. I flip through it and I'm like, where's the numbers? Where are they? Nothing. A portfolio or product strategy that does not have any numbers, I don't look at it. I don't look. Now, is this the one that you're going to give to your customers? No. This is the one internally that actually has some correlation to financial spend, outcome, when it's going to monetize. Right? So understand that's one of the areas, one of many, and I just wanted to call it out here, that a portfolio strategy is dynamic. So when you're sitting there talking about strategy, and you sit there and I have a really nice PowerPoint, and look, it's going here, and it's going to do this, and it does not have one single financial on it, fail. Go back, go talk to your CFO, ask them to help you. They will. They don't understand your language, you don't understand theirs. You're going to get there together. because there's a big gap there, but nonetheless, you're going to get there together and you're both going to be better off for it. Now, the other thing, one other area, because I was just trying to point out a few areas, a few examples, common portfolio strategies. There's 3 different stages of companies. When you're early in the life cycle of a company, startups, they're all about top-line growth. They don't necessarily care as much about profit, but they are about top-line growth. So you have to have experience in adding new product lines, understanding how to expand that. You need to understand costs, but top-line growth is, in fact, the most important. Not the coolest tech, top-line growth, very different things. The middle, as companies start to advance and scale up, they still are very concerned about top-line growth and they're growing fast, but they have to start caring a little bit about profitability. You see a lot of things in the news right now about profitability, and San Francisco finally understanding, hey, you might want to be a little profitable. So that's so exciting. That's why I live in San Francisco and work for a firm in New York, because I actually always cared about those things. But they start to care about it. You need to understand the levers associated with pulling it doesn't necessarily mean you have to pull it, right? So you need to understand those. And then later in the life cycle of a product or a company, there's a big focus on EBITDA. Each one of these are stage specific. As you're doing your resume, as you're doing your CV, or you're charting your path, you don't have to know all of these. But you have to know the ones you don't know, and you need to target the opportunities for the ones you do know. Because if you don't know this and you say that you do, right, you're going to fail when you go in there. So understand that there's different expertise in expansion strategies. There's different expansion strategies that matter at different stages of a company. And not every single person can be good at all of them. So don't pretend that you are. And educate the people you're talking to. So last but not least, reverse engineer your path. Begin with the goal. This is actually a slide that's pulled out of a scorecard of preparation. So this will be there for you, I think, in some of the slides that you can download. Look, there's many different areas that we look for in a CPO. And so one of the things that you can do is kind of reverse engineer where you are and kind of cover the gaps. But I will leave you with this, and I think I have one more slide. The time is now. Don't wait. Don't try to do it all. Narrow the path. For those that are in product marketing, and you guys should know this because go-to-market is in there, if you try to market a product to the masses, you will fail. If you try to market yourself as a chief product officer or a product leader generically, you will fail. What are you good at? What differentiates you from someone else? Not good or bad differentiation. Find the right fit for your superpowers and what you can do. And there's so much opportunity right now. Close the gap faster, but get out of the product way and go to your C-suite brethrens and figure out the areas that you don't know that aren't product. Do it now. You will accelerate your career faster than any other thing that can do it right now in product, right now. Now, how can you do this? Shelley, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to do this. How do I do it? Look, there's many paths to get there. The fastest path is in your own organization. Ask to shadow. Go ask someone what they don't understand what you're saying. A lot of times they don't understand, they don't say anything, they just go, okay, and they walk away, right? Did you understand what I said? Help me understand this. Go talk to your CFO, go talk to the CMO, go talk to your product marketing people about what they do to take your material and transform it into demand gen, which is very different than later in the cycle, right? So that's the fastest path, and I think one of the most effective as a mid-career is just go learn by doing it. Now, what's happening in the Bay Area more and more is that the product managers are getting hired with an MBA, right? And they're starting neck and neck with the same product people, and they're accelerating much faster. They're learning a little bit about the execution, and they're moving fast. So you could go get an MBA, which is typical on the East Coast. It's actually happening over there. But those are entry-level product people. They're hiring entry-level product people with an MBA. So you could actually go get an MBA. I think that there's faster ways for you to do that, but if that makes you comfortable and that's what you need in your career to go do it, that's what you should do. And then the last is start taking some virtual courses, not product courses. Basics for financials, SaaS metrics of why investors choose things, whatever it is, non-product courses, mix that with all 3 of those or 2 of those or some other thing. It doesn't matter how you get there. It matters that you understand it's not just product. So when you're managing your career development and which conferences you're going to go to, right, if you're higher up in that stack and you're looking for the next level of leadership role, more of your training should not be at product conferences. You should be giving back to other people that want to learn product, but you actually should be going to other disciplines to actually get there. Okay, now, so chart your course. Think big, but execute small, right? It's not like you can just go and not execute. You need to execute, but think big in terms of where you want to go, and then figure out the fastest path to do that. You are all product people. You know how to do that. You know how to do user research. Go ask the CEOs. Find out what they're looking for. Go ask boards. What are you looking for? Do your user research. You know how to do that. You know how to get the least amount of features to get the outcome. Do that for your career. Map backwards to different CPO roles and close the gap as fast as possible. You know how to do that. If you don't do that, product is slipping from the table, and you better start thinking about a different career path if you want to be at that C-suite. But you can change that now. You can bring up the whole profession and bring up your career. So they vary from different companies. You have to path it. No one can path it out for you. No one. You have to do it. You need to map it out. And there you go. Pay it forward. Bring others up with you as you're doing it. Right? The biggest thing that you can do is let other people take what you're good at. Your superpower of being a product person and getting into the detail is going to kill you at the CPO level. Enable the people below you so you can rise above. Bring other people up with you. It's the fastest path to get there. So I didn't leave any time for Q&A, but I'm super passionate about this, so I hope this helped you.